Our story revolves around Emma Grossman, a 9-year-old girl living with her widowed father, David. But don't let her sweet exterior fool you, Emma is far from your average child. As our tale begins, we witness Emma's true nature. She coldly watches a cat struggle and drown in a fountain beneath her bedroom window. Instead of helping, she simply draws the curtains, hiding the grim scene from view. It's a shocking moment that sets the tone for what's to come. At breakfast, Emma expresses her desire to win the school's annual citizenship medal, an award given to a student who embodies the school's values. Little does anyone know the lengths she'll go to get what she wants. The big day arrives, merit day, and Emma sits confidently in the crowd, certain the medal will be hers. But to her shock and fury, her teacher Mrs. Ellis announces that this year's winner is Emma's classmate, Milo Curtis. This perceived slight ignites a dangerous spark in Emma. As the school celebrates outside, she expresses her contempt for Milo to her father. David scolds her for her bitterness, unaware of the dark thoughts brewing in his daughter's mind. Emma's next move will change everything. She lures the unsuspecting Milo away from the party, guiding him through a patch of trees towards rocky cliffs overlooking the sea. In a moment of pure malevolence, Emma pushes Milo off the cliff, stealing his citizenship medal before sneaking back to the party. The consequences of her actions quickly unfold. Milo's body is discovered, and chaos erupts. As David and Emma watch from a distance, people desperately try to revive the boy while his mother breaks down in hysterics. Emma, however, remains chillingly unmoved by the tragedy she's caused. The day after Milo's tragic accident, David checks in on Emma, concerned about how she's coping. But Emma's reaction is far from what you'd expect. She acts cheerful, showing no empathy or grief for her classmate's death. This odd behavior raises red flags for David, but he's not ready to face the truth just yet. Enter David's sister Angela, a psychiatrist who suggests Emma might be in shock and will grieve when she's ready. If only she knew the real reason behind Emma's lack of emotion. David, hoping to provide some normalcy, hires a babysitter named Chloe, but Emma's sharp eyes miss nothing. She catches Chloe stealing pills from David's bedroom and uses this knowledge to manipulate her new caretaker. Ice cream on demand and staying up past bedtime? Emma's got it covered. The community comes together for Milo's funeral, and Emma puts on quite a show. She feigns sadness in front of Milo's grieving parents, playing the part of the bereaved friend to perfection. But her act is about to face its first real test. Mrs. Curtis, still reeling from her loss, asks David for photos from the day of the ceremony. That night, as David looks through the pictures, he notices something unsettling. In the background of many shots, there's Emma, glaring at Milo and his medal with unmistakable contempt. It's a chilling discovery that plants the first seeds of suspicion in David's mind. The plot thickens when Mrs. Ellis and an investigator show up at David's house the next day. They have some pointed questions about Emma's whereabouts on the day of Milo's death. It seems Emma was the last person seen with Milo, witnessed leading him into the woods. As Emma eavesdrops on this conversation, she realizes the stakes have just gotten higher. But she's not the only one listening in. Chloe appears behind Emma, and it's clear she's figured out Emma's dark secret. In a moment of quick thinking, or perhaps calculated cruelty, Emma prevents the adults from discussing the matter further. She deliberately injures herself, smashing a cookie jar and cutting her arm on the broken glass. Her piercing scream brings the conversation to an abrupt halt, and Mrs. Ellis and the investigator promptly leave. Left alone with his daughter, David confronts Emma about being on the cliffs with Milo. But Emma, ever the skilled liar, denies everything. She even goes so far as to accuse Mrs. Ellis of lying out of hatred for her. The next day, Chloe takes Emma for a walk, and things get intense. Chloe confronts Emma about Milo's death, but our young sociopath denies everything. As they're talking, they spot Mrs. Curtis and the investigator arriving at Milo's house. Chloe, perhaps underestimating Emma's ruthlessness, warns her to get her story straight or risk getting caught. Back at home, Chloe tries to scare Emma with a twisted tale. She tells the girl that if she's caught for murdering Milo, she'll be put in a special pink electric chair made just for child criminals. Emma claims she doesn't believe it, but we can see a flicker of worry in her eyes. It seems even our cold-blooded killer has some fears after all. But Emma isn't about to go down without a fight. In a shocking turn of events, she decides to eliminate another threat. Mrs. Ellis, who's been asking too many questions, becomes Emma's next target. Our young villain places a wasp nest in Mrs. Ellis's car, causing her to crash off-screen. Another life snuffed out by Emma's calculating cruelty. Meanwhile, Chloe makes a startling discovery. She finds Milo's citizenship medal hidden under Emma's bed. Instead of confronting Emma directly, Chloe decides to play a dangerous game. She hangs the medal from a lamp in David's room, hoping he'll find it and put the pieces together. When David returns home, he doesn't immediately notice the medal. Emma, ever vigilant, spots it hanging from the lamp and quickly hides it behind her back. But David's paternal instincts kick in, and he questions what she's hiding. Trapped, Emma reveals the medal. David, visibly distressed, interrogates Emma about where she got the medal and if she was on the cliffs with Milo. Emma, thinking on her feet, spins a tale about playing a game with Milo where he let her wear the medal. She claims that when she left the cliffs, Milo didn't return, so she kept the medal. It's a flimsy story, but will it be enough to throw David off the scent? The incident leaves David deeply troubled. He calls his sister Angela, asking her to refer Emma to a child psychiatrist. David's worst fears are surfacing. Could his daughter have been involved in Milo's death? The next day, David makes Emma return the medal to Mrs. Curtis, a tense and emotional moment for all involved. That night, unable to shake his concerns, David researches antisocial behavior in children. As he reads, a chilling realization dawns on him: Emma's behavior aligns with psychopathic tendencies. Following David's growing concerns, Emma is taken to see a child psychiatrist, Dr. March. But our little manipulator is one step ahead. She puts on a masterclass in deception, acting perfectly normal and charming. Dr. March, completely fooled, assures David that Emma is 100% normal. David breathes a sigh of relief, but we know better, don't we? Meanwhile, Chloe decides to play with fire. She enters Emma's room and taunts her, boasting about her plans to hook up with David and potentially become Emma's stepmother. Big mistake, Chloe. Emma, disgusted by the idea, vows to have David get rid of her. If only Chloe knew the true extent of Emma's capabilities. That evening, as David prepares for a date, Emma reveals Chloe's inappropriate comments. David assures his daughter that Chloe's claims aren't true, and Emma firmly states she never wants a stepmother. It's a rare moment of vulnerability for Emma, but don't be fooled. She's plotting her next move. Later that night, while Chloe is engrossed in a movie downstairs, she hears a noise and starts searching for Emma. She notices the lights on in David's work shed and goes to investigate. It's the last mistake she'll ever make. Emma locks Chloe in the shed and sets it ablaze, watching coldly as another life is snuffed out by her actions. David rushes home to find emergency services already on the scene. The gravity of the situation is sinking in, and he can no longer ignore his suspicions. That night, he enters Emma's room as she pretends to sleep. In a tense confrontation, David questions Emma about the recent string of deaths. And then, the moment we've been waiting for, Emma confesses. She admits to murdering Milo, Mrs. Ellis, Chloe, and even a previous babysitter she didn't like. But what's truly chilling is her justification. She claims she didn't do anything wrong. The lack of remorse is palpable, and David is left heartbroken and horrified by the monster he's been raising. Realizing the gravity of the situation, David makes a drastic decision. The next day, he drives Emma to a secluded lake house, evading the suspicious Sheriff Peterson. David's plan is grim. He intends to kill Emma and then himself, believing it's the only way to prevent her from causing more harm and to spare her from a life in an institution or prison. But Emma, ever perceptive, senses her father's intentions. One night, she attempts to turn the tables, switching on the gas fireplace and kitchen stoves, trying to cause an explosion that would kill David. It's a battle of wits between father and daughter, with deadly stakes. David, having narrowly escaped Emma's attempt to gas him, brings her back to the lake house. He's more determined than ever to end this nightmare once and for all. In a desperate move, he crushes some medicine and slips it into Emma's hot chocolate, planning to end her life while she sleeps. But our pint-sized psychopath is always one step ahead. Emma, sensing something's amiss, switches the mugs when David isn't looking. As David drinks the doctored cocoa and drifts off to sleep, Emma sees her opportunity. She grabs David's gun, intent on finishing what she started. However, in a twist of fate, Emma's aim is off. The gunshot misses David, jolting him awake. What follows is a frantic chase through the lake house, with David desperate to stop his daughter and Emma fighting for her survival. In the heat of the moment, Emma makes a cunning move. She dials 911, screaming for help. It's a chilling reminder of how easily she can flip the script and play the victim when it suits her needs. The commotion attracts the attention of the lake house caretaker, who arrives on the scene with his shotgun. What he sees is shocking David, wild-eyed and desperate, about to harm his own daughter. Despite David's frantic claims that Emma is evil, the situation looks damning from an outsider's perspective. In a tragic turn of events, the caretaker, believing he's protecting an innocent child, shoots David. As the authorities arrive, Emma remains unharmed, her plan having worked to perfection. The next morning, as David's body is being removed from the scene, we see Emma sitting solemnly in the back of a car. She hugs her Aunt Angela, appearing every bit the traumatized child. But then, as she stares into the distance, we catch a glimpse of her true self. A cold, victorious grin spreads across her face. That's all for today's recap. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all our latest movie breakdowns. Until next time, keep your wits about you and remember, not all seeds grow into flowers. Some grow into thorns.